All right, hey guys, it's me. I'm going to do today's kind of overview from my dining room table because we are limited to our access to West High right now just because they're trying to clean, trying to get everything ready for next week, and also just to keep practicing social distancing, they want to limit how many teachers are in West at any given time. So I'm just going to talk to you from my dining room today. So Act 4, Scenes 4 and 5, they just kind of talk about the repercussions of Juliet's death. Her death. She's not dead yet, but her family thinks that she is. So in Act 4, Scene 4, we see Lord Capulet and Lady Capulet and the nurse kind of preparing everything for the wedding feast. They are calling in the musicians, they're calling in people to host the banquet, getting the chefs ready, decorating everything. It's just a really busy time, and they're trying to make sure that everything is ready for this wedding, and then they realize that Juliet still isn't awake. And it's 3 in the afternoon at this point. No one slept all night the night before except Juliet, they think. Paris is starting to arrive. People are starting to get here. They're very stressed. They're really confused about how this is going to go, how they're going to pull this off. They're really anxious. Everyone's really busy, but they're still celebratory. They're still happy they're getting to have this wedding. It's kind of a good stress. And that quickly changes, obviously, to a really negative anxiety over Juliet's passing. And now they have to organize what was going to be a wedding into a funeral. So the nurse is sent to go wake up Juliet, and she goes in and recognizes that Juliet has passed away. So she thinks the body is really cold, it's not moving. And at first the nurse is kind of joking about good idea getting rest tonight because you're not going to get any rest your wedding night. She's kind of making all these really lighthearted jokes with Juliet, kind of showing her personality. As we've talked about, the nurse is full of that kind of humor. And then that quickly shifts in a matter of seconds when she realizes that Juliet's wearing the same clothes she was wearing yesterday. She never put on her pajamas. She never actually really went to sleep. She collapsed on the bed is what it looks like, and died of, they assume, a broken heart over Tybalt. So they're very distressed. She calls in Lord and Lady Capulet, and then they call over the friar who arrived to perform the wedding ceremony. And he's not as upset as they're expecting him to be, obviously, because he knows that she's really alive. So he kind of tries to comfort and encourage them in saying, hey, she's in heaven now. She's doing better than she ever would be on earth. You don't need to mourn this loss because your daughter's in a better place, yada, 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 kind of trying to encourage them through that sort of dialogue. And then Paris is really devastated and really frustrated just because this wasn't what he was expecting, obviously. He didn't know Juliet well enough to be mourning her, but he is mourning what could have been. He's mourning the loss of this potential marriage and this potential relationship. And then Lord and Lady Capulet are devastated because they kind of ended things with Juliet on really bad terms. And they're talking about how, this is the worst day they've ever experienced, how there couldn't be a day worse than this, how they're so heartbroken, so devastated. Lord Capulet talks about how she was like a beautiful garden that was covered with an untimely frost. They just are really, really brokenhearted. And then they decide they're going to take her to the church, perform the funeral, leave her in the family tomb, come back, and what was going to be the wedding feast and the wedding party is going to now be a funeral, basically. So they have everything they need. They have the musicians, they have the food, they have all the guests coming, so now they're just going to turn this happy affair into another funeral. So the Capulet family is starting to kind of really collapse. We have the death of Tybalt, now they think Juliet's dead, and we're starting to see kind of this mourning kind of overtake the anger in their hearts. They're starting to become really upset, really sad. They're kind of starting to shift a little bit, instead of being really bitter, angry people, into being just more sad, more desiring of a change, more desiring of something hopeful now. So they're kind of shifting a little bit from anger just to sadness to a desire for something hopeful to come. So we see the Capulet family sort of shifting in that direction. Juliet's taken to the church. They're going to have the funeral. And then at the end of Act 4, Scene 5, the very last scene of that act, Shakespeare does something really interesting where he has an entire dialogue among Peter, the head servant, and the musicians who are there. And one thing that I want you guys to consider in the comprehension questions is maybe why Shakespeare chose to include that specific scene where Peter is trying to kind of get the musicians to not play a sad song, but to play something a little happier, and then why they have this whole debate and this kind of argument about something seemingly so small. And that should mirror something else going on in the play, is a really big argument breaking out over something kind of minor and the way that that evolves. So that's something for you guys to be thinking about. As usual, if you have any questions about Act 4, if anything didn't make a ton of sense to you, if you need more explanation than just this really quick overview, that's fine, just let me know. The comprehension questions have already been posted up in classrooms, so make sure you get those done. And then tomorrow we'll start working through Act 5. I'll start giving examples and explanation from those scenes. There's only 3 scenes in Act 5, but it is when kind of everything culminates, so there's a lot more to unpack there. But basically, Act 4, we just see the evolution of Juliet's decision, kind of how it's already impacting her family, how her death is leading to all these other things. So that's what's going on. As always, I really miss you guys. I hope you're doing awesome. I'm excited to see you on Monday. Yeah, thank you for all you do.